Yeah, without further ado, Eric Green made the trip in.
Cheers.
Are these frozen?
Were they in your car?
No.
It's not that cold out.
They were in the fridge. Eric Green, welcome to Beers and Careers.
Thanks. It's got to be Friday somewhere, right?
I know. We're on a Monday.
Monday.
Having a 5.5% start line marathon wheat.
Awesome. I'll be asleep by 7.
Yeah, hometown beer. Hometown beer.
Love it.
Before we introduce you a little bit more formally to the audience, we generally do a few rapid fire questions.
Ooh, okay.
To get to know you. What is your favorite drink or cocktail?
So I would say my go-to is beer.
Is beer. Okay.
Yeah.
And is this the favorite?
You know, I'm pretty easy.
Yeah.
You know, grew up on Bud Light.
Yeah.
So, like, this is a step way above.
Right.
But if I were going to have a cocktail, and it's funny, I talked to my friends about this, that, you know, when we were in our 20s, we drank Captain Morgan and Coke.
Yes.
And that has kind of stayed as my drink.
Okay.
And I feel very young about that. Like, it makes me feel kind of immature. Like I should have a scotch or something, but I just don't like
Do
it.
you play the hits?
Yeah, exactly.
So Captain and Coke.
Captain and Coke.
I love
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Got to have a lime.
My father-in-law likes a Captain and Ginger.
That's good too.
But I'm with you. I had the reverse experience. A few too many captains in
No, you can't
college.
do it.
And,
Yeah.
The rum is like, okay, I'd rather
Yeah.
not.
That's peppermint schnapps.
Right? We all have one.
Yeah, yeah.
We all have one.
Probably more than one.
Are you a quote guy? I asked you this actually walking out of the gym the other day.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
talked about that.
Yeah. Or any quote that resonates is a better way of saying that.
It's my daughter's playing softball, so we're in softball season now.
Okay.
And so like, I do think a lot about like softball or baseball quotes.
Yes.
And so, you know, one thing that's really stuck with me over the years is that if you don't take a swing, you're never going to get a hit. So that's true for her playing softball, and that's true for business or anything else.
It's true.
So that's a big one.
Yes.
I have a T-shirt that I wear around the gym every so often that says "Next pitch, next play." That's another good one.
Yes. Moving on. Big baseball guy, huh?
Well, enough.
Yeah, enough. Yeah.
Because they're not long quotes. The shorter the quote, the better I can remember them.
But those are both very apropos. Like the I feel like in business the you don't hit anything you don't swing at is like particularly hard. It's as a kid it's easy to swing a bat. In business it can be hard to pull the trigger.
Oh, yeah, we'll get into my story at some point.
The
but
analysis
yeah,
paralysis, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's hard.
I love it. I love it. Those are both good ones. Those
Yeah.
are both really good ones. Do you favorite curse word? Are you a cursor, or you keep it above the board?
I'm pretty much above the board, but
love that.
find myself. Actually, I was watching some TV show last night with my wife on Netflix, and you know they're like "f this, f that" all the time, and it made me think like, A, I'm feeling old, but B, like, wow, I don't say it that much.
It's good.
You know, like
That's good.
Yeah.
You didn't have an Italian father.
I'm kind of a rats and mices type of guy.
Oh,
yeah,
I like that.
yeah, it's good around the
You are.
kids.
You are. That I probably need a lesson. First job.
You'll find this funny since it's Beers and Careers. My first job was selling beer for Budweiser.
No way.
Yeah, that was a pinch me. I'm 22 years old and I'm driving the Budweiser van selling a bunch of different beers to
Colleges or to actually.
No, it was on the North Shore of Massachusetts, like the Danvers, Peabody, you know, that area. And so I was working in liquor stores and restaurants and, you know, selling
Slang and Budweiser.
Yeah, selling beer, merchandising, and you know, setting up neon lights and stuff
Wow.
like that. Yeah, I did that for about 4 years.
You are the second Beers and Careers guest that has been
No kidding.
their first job.
It's a great.
The other one was this guy by the name of John Smith, and he had something to do where he was also selling it to colleges at the time, like partnering with frats and stuff, because it was that time where it was.
Seems like a slippery slope.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in 2023, it's hard to believe you could do that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? It's like a throwback era.
Yeah, that doesn't seem good, but hey.
Yeah, but
it's
it
probably a
worked
big
out.
business.
It worked out. Lastly, favorite book or a favorite book?
Yeah, it's actually easier than I thought it was going to be. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We're going to get into that too.
By Mr.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki. I was going to say Robert, but I always
Yep.
butcher his
You
last
were
name.
there.
I just talked to my parents over the weekend about Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Did you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think because we were having the my mom was like, "What do you think of Dave Ramsey?" And I like him.
Yep.
But I don't like him as much as I like Richard.
Robert.
I'm sorry,
Yep,
Robert.
yep.
Yeah, I just feel like
It's the only book that I have read twice.
no way.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, then let's dive in. I want can you give people maybe the Reader's Digest? Mark knows Eric from the gym. Full disclosure, we live in the same town, and I knew when you left your corporate role because I'm in recruiting. We connected a little bit, and then one day you were like, "I made a serious pivot."
I did,
and then some time went on, and we reconnected. And I was like, "We should probably be telling the story." So I try to stay as ignorant as possible, actually, before the podcast, as I mentioned to you, because
So it's interesting.
so it's interesting to me. Selfish, and I'm sorry, but I'll admit it. So yeah, give people like where you went from Budweiser, and you don't have to get into all the dirty details, but just like the 50,000-foot view, and then let's dive into it.
Yeah. All right. So Budweiser for the first 4 years, which my parents hated. And, they went to college, and they're like, "You're selling beer, and you're working in liquor stores."
Yeah.
Looking back, like Budweiser's a pretty good company, right? Anheuser-Busch, not bad.
Phenomenal, really. Yeah.
So, anyways, they
Also pretty recession-proof.
right, exactly. So but they kind of planted the seed that it wasn't like a career move for me. That job did end up getting to be like an order taker type of role.
Okay.
So I got some great experience, and I really did love it. And I loved being a salesperson and being out there and talking to people. So that was a good lesson. But after 4 years, I decided to leave and had an opportunity to move to Connecticut and sell insurance.
Okay.
For or with a friend of mine that I went to college with, and he and his dad had an insurance agency. So I moved to Connecticut and got my insurance license and hated it. I was cold calling.
Yeah.
I'd call you up because I'd have a list and I'd say to people like, "Hey, I called you 3 years ago," which I never did. And we talked about your Nissan so-and-so because I knew that was true.
Yes.
I'd have a record. And I'd say, "Can I give you a quote on your new car?" And that's what I just did. I just
all day long,
and I really did not like it.
Yes.
Again, good that I learned that.
Good experience, yeah.
Yeah, good experience. He ended up moving to Atlanta and selling the business. So I was there for 6-8 months, a short period, and left, and then kind of moved back home and really didn't know what to do at this point. And I had a communications degree from Syracuse, and really kind of thought about what is it that I'm going to do next. And so and I really liked kind of the retail side of things and the marketing side of things. And so I got an internship at an advertising agency. Oh. And that ended up being great. That translated into a advertising job in Boston. And I did that for a bunch of years and switched from general advertising to direct mail or direct marketing. Worked with some pretty big accounts like CVS Pharmacy, and had a great time doing that, and really liked it. But after 7 or 8 years, I left there and wanted to work on the client side of things. So I became a shoe guy and worked for Rockport Shoes, and did that for quite a while in sales and marketing roles for the Rockport company. And all along, I've been blessed with great managers and great bosses. And so, I enjoyed that. It was like Budweiser, it was a tangible product that I could see on shelves, and I could kind of appreciate that. I've always liked that aspect. So I did that for a while, and then it was just kind of time for a change, and ended up at Bose. So I was at Rockport for about 7 years, and moved on to Bose in a retail marketing type of role. So again, kind of there was a path here, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of retail, it's sales, it's marketing, and had an opportunity to join Bose in that capacity. And I was at Bose for 13 years and did just that, retail marketing and merchandising at Bose. So I focused. I had teams that worked on merchandising Bose products. So you want to go to a Best Buy and try on a pair of headphones or listen to a speaker, then it's on a display. And
Yeah.
so I program managed the teams that did that. It started out at Circuit City, if you remember Circuit City.
I did. We had one in my town growing up.
All right, growing up, yep. So and then it ended up becoming a global role. So the retail merchandising was something I did and really enjoyed.
Oh,
at
cool.
Bose. Yeah, it
The
was.
global component of that must be wild.
I got to travel to places
Yeah.
that I never would have, and so that was great. And just to see how retail's done in different areas of the country or different areas of the world.
Yeah, like
was
the
really pretty
buying habits must be so different.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities
There are?
too.
Okay, yeah.
So it wasn't so different,
Okay.
but everyone thinks that they're different.
Yeah.
But at the end, kind of my role was to try to make them as similar as possible. So we could have one size fits all type displays, which never really worked.
Yes. As close as you could.
But,
kind of
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and Bose is a great product, and so I
is.
love that. And the people I worked with there were fantastic. A lot of great friends came out of there. Towards the end of my 13 years, the role was changing. I wasn't so thrilled about my role, but I again, what kept me there were, the people.
Relationships.
Yeah.
What about your role changed? Less of something and more of another, or?
It became very different. It was
Okay.
it was less about retail merchandising,
Okay.
and more about I'm forgetting the term.
E-commerce.
No, it was just it was more of it wasn't a program manager role
Okay.
anymore. I was kind of
Okay.
I didn't have as much say into things as I wanted to.
Less autonomy.
The term will come to
Okay.
me, but
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't really love where the direction they were going in, which is fine.
Yeah.
It just wasn't for me.
Hey, it happens. 13 years is a long go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I always thought that I would stay, and I wasn't looking to leave. But Bose, as you probably know, has had a lot of troubles over the last few years, and I was caught up in a layoff, and that was a really tough day.
Yes.
It's never easy to get let go, and
Yeah.
but at the same time, it was the kick in the pants that I needed, and I always knew that I wanted to do something different.
Okay.
And that was true through my whole career. And I'll bring it back to Rich Dad Poor Dad. Like Rich Dad Poor Dad planted a seed in me that there's got to be a better way, that there is a different way to do things. And you could probably tell already from my comment about Anheuser-Busch and how my parents were kind of against that. My parents were very traditional. My father had a great corporate career for his entire career, very conservative, and that was my upbringing. And so I grew up, and if you know the book, I was the son of the poor dad.
Yes.
And by no means is my dad poor.
Right.
But in the book, that's he was like the professor.
He
in the
trades his time for his salary.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest difference, right? The rich dad is making money while he's asleep.
Correct.
And the poor dad in the book trades his time for like a salary, like 90+% of us do.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
But it's I look at it more of the the conservative. You get a good job, you grow through the ranks, you pay a lot of taxes,
Yes.
and that's kind of how it goes,
It's
right?
the
And,
truth.
and there's nothing wrong with that. And my father did great, but that was how I was brought up, and that was basically where I was going. But I always thought that there had to be this other way, and so the other side of that book, the rich dad. It just so happens that I grew up with one of my best friends from kindergarten. His dad was the rich dad, and his dad had businesses. His dad did things very differently, much more entrepreneurial than my dad was.
Right.
And so he grew up with that type of background, and so we were, in my mind, rich dad, poor dad. I was living it.
Yes.
And I always felt that way, that there's got to be a better way. And so my friend, went the rich dad way, and started his own businesses, and he's done great. So I end up getting, and he knew this the whole time. We've been friends for over 50 years, and so he knew that I always wanted to do something different. And he, as a matter of fact, back to one of my quotes, and I didn't intend to tie this all together, but
You're killing it right now.
he always said, like, if you want to do something, then take a shot. Go do it. Right. Enough talking about it. You know, I'm 30 years old, and geez, there's got to be a better way. I'm 40 years old. There's got to be a better way. Like, well, go do it. Like, what do you want to do? And I always would say, you know, maybe real estate, something like that. And so one day while I was still at Bose, actually, I bought a condo as an investment property, and that was me taking a swing.
You doing it?
Yep, I did it. And that felt really good. Like,
cool.
I did it. It's very scary and risky, but you know, as a condo, it wasn't a tremendous thing, but I did it. That felt good. So now I get laid off from Bose, and he's one of my first phone calls, like, hey, you know, what do you think I should do? And he said, well, if I were you, I would not look for another corporate job. And you know, I'll never forget those words because I felt like he's right. Like, this is my shot. This is my time. Very scary, but because I don't know what that means, what am I going to do?
Right.
But you know, he encouraged me to do something different.
Yeah, it's not a beaten path to follow.
Correct.
Yeah. And do you know you're going to get laid off from Bose? Like, do you feel it imminently coming as it happened, or were you blindsided by that?
Oh no, I mean, there's always
waves.
At Bose. I think we knew when it was coming. Like, there's going to be a layoff in December. There's going to be a layoff 3 months from now. You know, did I know that I was going to be part of it? As it got closer, it was pretty clear. And then I got the invitation to meet with HR, you know, the day that things were happening. So
you got it. Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much knew what I was
always wonder,
walking into.
because I feel like I feel like if I put myself in a situation like that, you could kind of see it coming, but you're almost in, like, I think at times I'd be in denial. Like, well, maybe it won't happen to me, or you know, like, until it actually happens, and then you're like, oh, okay. Like, I just imagine that was a really difficult day after 13 years.
Again, yes and no. Like,
at the time, and then kind of now when you look back, less so.
Well, I mean, even at the time, you've got a family.
Yes.
You know, like, this isn't like I'm living in mom's basement, and it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Right.
Like, I've got a family and a mortgage and a condo I just bought. Like, You know, I got stuff going on, and now this happens, and so it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And I think that's really why I stayed at Bose as long as I did, because it's safe.
Yes.
So it was safe, but I think I really did hope that something good would come of this, that the next move would be great, that you know, I was at a point in my life where hopefully I could do something that I was really excited about, and I knew that I wasn't in the right place at Bose. The word I was looking for, the position that they had started at Bose was agile. You hear about it in engineering, which you're probably more familiar with.
Yeah.
Right, and they started it in marketing.
Okay.
And it just wasn't for me.
Yes.
It's great for the company or great for other companies, but I just didn't appreciate, or I didn't love the role that I had within Agile.
No, that makes sense. Okay, so you get laid off, you call your buddy. Do you still start applying to other jobs? Like, do you still practice the safe route to a degree?
I started to a little bit. I went to, they gave me an outplacement agency, and I went to a meeting at the outplacement agency, and ironically, or maybe intentionally, it was 5 or 6 50-year-olds, all over 50, meeting with the outplacement agency. And the first thing that she said was, this will not be your last career or job search. So in other words, you're in your 50s, and you know, this is what happens. Like, this is, you're going to get another job, you will get another job, but then you're going to be looking again for another job. And so she was pretty blunt that.
Brutal. Like on the ageism piece? Was that what she was trying to infer?
Not as much that.
Okay.
I didn't, at least that's how I didn't take it. I took it more as like, nowadays, there isn't as much loyalty with companies as there used to be.
Right on. Okay.
So I was at Bose for 13 years. The chance of that happening again is
Rockport
unlikely.
for another 7 before that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, when, as a recruiter, when you were going through your time, I was like, wow, loyal guy.
Yeah.
That was like literally my
But
my
and that's
thought
I did
process.
think that was more. of her
okay.
point.
It's just like the world is a different place now.
That the world's a different place, and even though you might think you're kind of, you know, on the back 9, you probably still have a couple of jumps ahead of you.
Interesting.
I didn't love that idea because I am a loyal guy, and I didn't really want like the idea of bouncing around and doing this multiple times and learning where the restroom is and all that stuff.
Do you think that it's a quick aside, but do you think that comes from, like, I know you know, You're a sports guy, athletics guy. Do you think that comes from athletics? Like even growing up playing like high school sports, and then your senior year, you're like, I wish I had a couple more years. Like you don't ever want to kind of give up because
Right.
I battle. I mean, I am living the weirdness, right? Like I'm on year 14 at this company, which doesn't happen that much
Right.
in my demo, and I just don't like. It's like I don't know if it's going to be better somewhere else. I'm sure all the problems are, they're people.
The grass is always greener.
Yeah,
right?
it's just like I'm sure there's also problems over there too. So
Yep.
I just wonder where that comes from, because it is less. It's like an average of 30 months or something today.
30 months. We're counting it
At
in
times,
months.
yeah, I
That's
think so. I know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Does it inspire you? To work 30 months?
Exactly, not at
Yeah.
all. Yeah. So that happened. So, I call my friend, tell him that this happened, and we'll figure something out. And so what do you want? Like, it's really on me. He was
Yeah.
just there to kind of guide the ship a little bit. But, so I said, well, maybe I've always wanted to invest in real estate, and I have the one condo. Maybe we could do more.
Yeah.
So, all right, where do you want to do that? Like, he's just totally guiding, but not telling me what to do. And so I said, well, I think Worcester is a great location, and so go look in Worcester. So I went and, spent, I don't know, a few months looking at multifamilies in Worcester, and finally and found a 6-family in Worcester that was great. And, with his help, we ended up buying it.
Oh, cool.
So we partnered on this multifamily,
Yeah.
the 6-family,
Very
and so now I'm a landlord, and as I mentioned to you earlier, that I bought that in March of 2020. So
The best time.
learning to be a landlord during COVID
Yes.
was a little nerve-wracking.
Yes.
Will people pay, and what's going to happen, and what are my protocols as a landlord, and all that. So, anyways, great experience, and so that has gone well. But that wasn't going to be enough.
Did you sell the condo, or did you still have the condo as well at this time?
At that time, I had the condo.
Cool. All right.
But still, it's not enough
Right.
to live off of.
Right. Yes.
And so I went and got my real estate license and became an agent.
Yes.
And, studied my ass off to get that. It's not as easy as some people might
I
think.
can imagine.
But got my license, and because I thought that would be a nice way to supplement. I could be a landlord. I'd have some flexibility to be able to do what I needed to do in Worcester, but I could also try to break into real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And so being a landlord was hard enough during COVID. Being a new real estate agent during COVID was just ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
Sending out postcards and letting people know that I'm an agent
Yeah.
and trying to tell people. But, and especially in the town that we live in, it's not easy to break into real estate. Everyone knows a realtor, and there's a lot of great realtors. And so it's not easy.
And the brand takes a while to build.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huge aha, I would say. I wouldn't have guessed that either until you live it and you see. I've never lived it until I've seen it. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh wow, you couldn't just set up shop here. You gotta
No.
you're in for the long haul.
Right. Right, exactly. And those that do well are in it for the long haul. That's exactly right. And you got to just keep on hammering it.
Right.
And, so I'm still licensed. I've renewed my license, but I haven't really used it. I use it a bit when I'm renting apartments, my own apartments.
Yes.
But, I really am not selling real estate right now.
Okay.
Because a few months later, an opportunity to buy a self-storage facility came up in Worcester.
Okay.
My partner, my friend, that's his main business is self-storage.
Oh, okay.
So he found this opportunity. It came to his desk, and he immediately asked me if I'd want to partner with him on that, given that it's in Worcester. Now we have the 6-family in Worcester, and so you want to buy a storage facility in Worcester. So, both of these things, talk about you're not going to get a hit unless you take a swing. Like,
Yes.
it's a big moment
I
to
would
decide to do that.
I would imagine so.
Big investment.
Yes.
And for him, not that big of a deal. He had done it, at this point, he's done it 30-something times. And so, it's a very different story. For me, again, back to the book, like growing up conservative kid, Dad doesn't take a lot of risks. And now here
Right.
I am, I'm going to swing for the fences here and see what I can do. And so, I had no idea that was coming. And I'm so thankful to have this friend that has presented me with these opportunities. And because without him, I'm not really sure what I would be doing. But because I had that relationship with him and because he's such a great guy, I was able to partner with him on storage, something that I knew nothing about. And so we bought this 340 unit storage facility in a 120-year-old building in Worcester.
Whoa.
Yeah. Needed a lot of work.
I bet.
There's a lot of upside.
Yes.
Right? Like,
Yeah. Yes.
It was pretty run down. It was a self-storage facility that to begin with, so there was cash flow already, which was nice. But there's a lot of opportunity there, and that's what he saw, and I could see it very clearly too.
Interesting. So you get laid off, and then now, when did you get laid off, timing wise?
It was around November 1st, 2019.
Yeah, and you bought that 6-family in March.
In March, and then we bought this in, I think it was May.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Pretty fast.
Exciting.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Like, can I, if I'm prying too much, just tell me to F off. Like, are you like, I never thought that we would be potentially sharing your story in terms of like, the pivot is interesting. I think there's also probably a bunch of people that might listen in that are in their 50s looking for a job. I never really anticipated that when you walked in the door. I was more just excited to hear about how you parlayed all your experience into the new gig.
Yeah.
But I think to myself, did you give yourself a time frame? Like, so that happens in November of 2019. You said it took a couple months to land the place and you were looking for work, but I know you have children. I know you have a wife, like a lifestyle.
Yep.
Can you just talk to me about the pressures? Were you giving yourself a timeline, or were you...
Well, so I've talked a lot about my friend and how fortunate I am to have him. I'm also incredibly blessed and fortunate to have an unbelievable wife who works full time and has health insurance, which probably was the number one issue, right? If I needed to have my own insurance, then I probably would be back at a corporate job.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that bought you a little time.
it bought me time.
Okay.
I had some severance from Bose. That bought me time.
Okay.
And
the clock was ticking.
Yep.
And you were feeling the pressure, but it wasn't like Monday, I need to start flipping burgers at McDonald's to make ends meet.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, for sure, there's pressure. For sure, I had, given my age, I had saved some money. So, there was some cushion there. And,
but you're not looking to dip into that after all that work either, right?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
No, that's not the ideal world to dip into that. But if I would rather do something like invest in something and have the potential upside, because that's what I didn't have at Bose. That's what I felt I didn't have. Like good job, but I'm going to get that 3% increase next year, and then the next year, and so on.
It's barely going to cover the inflation. Yeah.
Like I'm never gonna get that big hit.
Yes,
that's how I felt, and so I would rather do what I did, which was take a risk and hope that I could get a really good hit out of it. And in addition, like there's definitely two sides. There's the financial side that you're asking about, but there's also the personal side, like stepping out and doing something different.
Yes.
Well, the angst, but the excitement.
Yeah. Okay.
Is awesome.
Exhilarating.
It is, because I had wanted to do something like this for so long. And so, I never thought, like, when I first read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that I'm going to get into self-storage.
Yes.
But here it is, the opportunity presented, and I jumped on it, and it's worked out really well. It's been great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so you still have the 6-family?
Yeah, so just to kind of round off that story, so the 6-family and the storage facility in Worcester, we grow the storage facility in Worcester because there's space in this building to add more units, so we build it up to about 500 units.
From like 340, you said, or
something
like that? Okay,
so we add about 150 more units to it. We put a new roof on, we painted the whole inside, like we really cleaned the thing up.
Okay.
And except the one thing that we couldn't clean up was the 100-plus-year-old elevator. So the elevator needed to be replaced, and that ended up being a much bigger deal. It due to code violation, or not violations, but code compliance,
Yes.
it was going to be a huge thing, much more than just the elevator to replace. So we decided to say, could we sell it? And rather than investing in this elevator, the facility was doing great,
Yes.
but the elevator was the Achilles heel.
Okay.
And so we put it on the market, and we ended up selling it. Before we sold it, back to the condo, I sold the condo and I bought a 3-family across the street from the 6-family in Worcester.
Oh.
So I kind of, the play there was to just consolidate.
Yes.
And have, instead of having to drive into Boston for maintenance things or tenants, now I have 9 units across the street from each other in
Yes.
Worcester. In the storage facility. So it's like, all right, my little world in Worcester
Yeah.
here,
You're going to work in Worcester.
going to work in Worcester,
Right.
which worked out great. And then, we decided to sell it, and then it sold pretty quickly. So that, now I've got the 9 units in Worcester, but we sold the storage facility.
Okay. So you're looking for your next thing.
Which we found, and we hope.
Very cool.
Yeah, very exciting. So it's taken a little while.
Yeah.
Especially given the situation with the economy and
Yes.
interest rates and all that. Like there wasn't a lot of activity over the last year in terms of storage facilities becoming available and the ability to buy. But we did find another one in Lakeville, Mass.
Yes, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, down Route 495.
Yes.
And that's brand new. So we're buying it from the builder
Okay.
who built it purposefully for self-storage. And we're buying it from him. As he completes it, we will take it over. And so that is probably going to open on May 1st, so a month from now.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It is.
Okay.
It's really exciting. So we're able to, parlay the funds from Worcester into that. And now it'll be very different for me because I'm going from a 120-year-old building to
Yeah,
a brand new building.
yeah.
So, and I think the customers will appreciate that too.
Yes.
Which will be
Yes,
great.
everything will be brand spanking.
Right.
Do you, if I may, when you bought the 6-family and then bought the 340 spots in Worcester?
Yeah.
Did the loyal long-term thinker, little C conservative thought process go through your mind of oh, now I'm in this for the long haul? Were you shocked that you turned around and sold it so quickly based on what had gone on? Because I don't know, part of me goes, it'd be so sweet to get in that position. There's cash flow coming.
Yeah.
Do you milk it, or were you prepared for that to a degree?
So it's all new for me.
Yeah, okay.
And back to the partner, so lucky.
Yeah,
Very
okay.
fortunate. He's been down all these roads before. Nothing is really.
He's got a playbook, so to speak.
Yeah,
From his God of how to handle. Okay.
It's not really new to him. So everything that would be really freaking me out, he's handled it before. He's been there, and so he has some great wisdom with all of this. And so, the Worcester is not an easy market. The clientele was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
The 120 or 100-year-old elevator, we knew from day one was going to be an issue.
Okay.
So, was I prepared for it? I think, to your point, what I love about it and what was difficult to step away from is that I love developing relationships, and the people that were our customers in Worcester, I really enjoyed those relationships, and so we were walking away from that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting.
That to me was tougher than selling the business.
Yeah. Interesting. I always, the advice people give you when you buy a house is well, don't fall in love with the house because then you're not negotiating, so to speak.
Right.
And it's yeah, but I suck at that.
It's very emotional.
It's awesome, Dad.
Yeah.
Great advice. But I also raising my family here, and I love this place. So I think I was interested to know. I was trying to get a bird's eye view into, does that happen in the commercial space as much?
Yeah, I mean, we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that building in a short amount of time.
Yes.
We really turned it around and I think we did a great job, and then built a lot of relationships
Clearly, if it sold so quickly
from that.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a phenomenal pivot.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I feel really lucky to be in this position and really happy to have done it. No regrets. And, as Todd has said to me, do you want to take the shot or not?
Yeah.
And
And you took it for
took
sure.
it.
It had to be nerve wracking. So at this point, do you find yourself, okay, May 1st kicks off, you have a good year or so. Do you find that are you gonna go after more of these units, multifamily units, or do you think you'll go after the self storage, or do you think you're gonna just keep taking it day by day?
no, I have a clear easy
cut.
answer for that one.
Okay.
It's so multifamily, every unit has a bathroom, every unit
a
has
mess.
a kitchen, every unit has a toilet that's going to flood.
A human that lives in it?
and humans, right? Humans that live there, exactly. In Worcester, well, and the same will be true in Lakeville. It's 500 units and one bathroom. Mm-hmm. In Worcester, it wasn't even a heated space, so my utilities were low. I didn't have to worry about heat. Where with tenants, they're obviously real people that I worry about.
Yes.
That if the heat goes out in a cold snap, if it goes out in my house, I'll deal with it. My family will put on hats and
Right.
coats, and we'll figure it out.
Right.
If it goes out with my tenants, that really that scares me. I really worry about that type of thing.
Yes.
Plumbing issues, all of those major issues. I worry about that as a landlord.
Yeah.
And so to your question, the way that I would rather go is for sure self-storage. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So that's my hope is that I selling Worcester that quickly was kind of a one-off. I don't see that happening again.
Yeah.
So I could see us keeping Lakeville and then
Building
just
a portfolio.
buying another
Yeah.
one or two.
Oh,
Or
so
Great.
cool. Do you find yourself more fulfilled in your day to day than you were in your corporate life?
I do.
Hard to compare.
Well, there are days like the difference, and we talked about it kind of on the way in here. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy interacting with people.
Yes.
And it's we sold Worcester in I think it was September, and so it's been a chunk of time now, and
Yeah.
so staying motivated when you don't have a job to show up to is that's. I think I've done well at that. Like I think
Yeah.
I'm pretty motivated. You still see me at the gym at
You
6
do
a.m.
every day.
And so that gets me going every
Mm-hmm.
day. Is get to the gym and then start the day. And I think with a corporate job, sometimes it's
A little easier to be there.
because you have to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there are days that I could just blow off a whole day. Mm-hmm. And some of that is the nice part about being self-employed is
Yes.
that I could, but I don't.
Okay.
So I stay pretty
Yeah.
motivated.
So I was going to ask you if you regret anything, but it sounds like not at all with the pivot.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero regrets.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was, again, I loved working at Bose, and all my colleagues and friends and managers were great. But I think, and it wasn't just me that got let go, but at the same time, I think that they gave me the kick in the pants that I needed. And
To take a swing.
so I could take the swing. Yeah.
Do you feel like your new profession, vocation to a degree, like has that changed any of your relationships or dynamics at home? Like has it improved? I'm always interested in the compounding effect of things.
Interesting question.
So like, you start going to the gym and then all of a sudden I'm eating healthier and now I'm sleeping better. And I'm doing all these other things that are related, but that was not why I started going. And I'm interested, like, have you found any compounding effects
Well,
of this new role?
The biggest and easiest one is certainly that I'm home for my kids.
You're not missing any softball games.
Correct.
Yeah, I get that.
I've got a daughter that's a freshman. My son's a senior in high school, and so his soccer team went to the state
They did.
championship. And
Hell of a run.
just to be able to go to a lot, if not all of those games was awesome. And to be there for my daughter now is great too. And that's been the biggest thing for
Okay.
me is that I'm able to spend more time.
Yes. Did you feel like, though, I feel like a company like Bose, and you know it better than I do, I feel like you probably would have been able to make most of that, right? Was it an autonomous place or not as much with the travel?
I don't know. I always felt guilty.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Yes.
I think that if I ever asked, can I go to a game?
Yeah.
Are you okay if I leave at 3:00 today? The answer, of course, would have been yes.
Yes.
I think we're all mature enough that as long as you're getting your job done, that's all that really matters.
Right.
But I just have some professionalism in me that would say,
Professional
I did
guilt,
that last week. I'm not sure I can do that again this week.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense. Where now you don't feel beholden to that because you're getting the job done and you are the boss of you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's been a huge benefit too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Are you, do you ever pinch yourself and go, why the hell didn't I do this at 30? Or do you not think about it like that?
Well, I can't really look back. I mean, it's not
I'm
going
with
to help
you.
anything
I'm with
to
you,
look
yeah.
back. But, I have a son who's 18, and, would I love him to see him buy a piece of real estate once he graduates from college? Absolutely. I just
Yeah.
had him invest in a mutual fund at 18 years old.
Yeah.
So, if he keeps that for a long time, like those are things that
Yes.
I don't have any regret of starting when I did. Like I had to figure it out.
Yes.
And this is how long it took for me.
Yeah.
But, if you're going to get into real estate, which I think is a great business to get into, the younger you can get in, the earlier
Yes.
you get in, the
More
better
it's
off
gonna
you're going to
compound.
be. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. What would you, any advice other than take a shot with other people that are getting laid off right now? It's an interesting time in our job market. We're in a weird place because you're getting. It's funny. There's a lot of news about. I obviously live in labor markets all day long, and there's a lot of news that dominates our news cycle about layoffs and where the economy is at. But the true data shows us that we just literally don't have enough people. So even though we're probably in a recession, most recessions have an inverse of supply and demand of people. This one, we have not trended in that way yet.
Yeah.
There's still 11 million jobs and 5 million people on unemployment. So it's an interesting dynamic, but I'm interested, like, for the fellow person laid off, if you have any additional advice you'd share with them.
I guess for me, I feel like a couple things happened that, my relationship with my friend was obviously huge.
Yes.
The timing in terms of, my wife's fully employed and does well, and health insurance and all that. And I think a little bit, of my experience level. Like I had enough experience to be able to be confident in what I can do on this side. If I was really young, I'm not sure I would have been able to do that. So I think there was some luck, some relationships, some timing for me. And that's what made it all work for me. So, advice to someone else is like, you do need to be careful. Like you can take a risk but not have insurance.
Yes.
Or you take a risk. Like I again, just super fortunate to have someone to partner with that has all this experience. And so, there are answers to every single question I have. If I were alone at this, you don't even know what you don't know.
Yes.
Like it's so, if you can find a mentor then that can help you along the way, then that would be great. And I mean, I think feels great to be able to do it, but I don't think that it's a smart move for everyone.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And to your point about, like, you're fortunate to have the experience professionally. Like, maybe that 30-year-old Eric wouldn't actually have made the same decisions based on not having the additional years of experience.
Right.
It's something you kind of don't think about when you look at things through a revisionist lens.
Right. For me, I was always strong at project management, and that's what I do a lot of today.
That's your life, right?
Right.
Now at this point,
So I'm using that background.
Just applying the skills to a different application.
Yeah.
I also feel like something you mentioned too that I noticed was you I think it's cliche to say like the failing forward, but you kept at bats, meaning like you also still tried to get your real estate. You did get your real estate license.
Yeah.
You did try to sell real estate, and then you're like, not for me. Which I think is like, I think some people get into things and they realize it's not for them, and then they kind of they lose their the juice to try something new.
Yep.
And it's like, don't worry about it. Like you're gonna kick a brick once in a while. You don't know things until you try them.
Well, yeah. To me, more than real estate, because I don't think real estate was necessarily a fail. I think.
I just meant the agent part where I'm sorry. I understood you going in being like, I'm also going to be able to supplement this, and then being like, wow, I don't think I'm really going to make it work from a cash flow standpoint that way. Sorry.
Well, no, that is true.
Okay.
It would have it does take a long time
Yeah.
to develop clientele.
Relationships, yeah.
Right. So that would have taken years, and I still maintain the license because
Yes.
you never know.
Keeps you sharp too, probably.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
I as hard as I studied and everything that I learned, I think that was beneficial too, especially being a landlord. I think it was
100%.
all good to know.
Yeah.
So I don't look at it as like wasted either. The one experience, and like I said before, I think you learn from even the bad experiences, and I've been pretty fortunate that the only negative experience that I had was being an insurance salesman.
Yes, yes.
And so I learned a ton from that.
Right.
And real estate, I'm still learning from, and I'll keep the license, and you never know.
Yes, you truly never know. I think that's what's great about the story, and I also think to your point on the mentorship, I feel like if you don't have a good mentor, sometimes when you're going through the bad times, you don't realize that they're just wonderful experiences for the future.
Yeah.
Where like a mentor sometimes will keep you in check. Happened to me recently. Was going through some stuff at work, and the person's like, "Yeah, well, you don't know what you're doing. Like it's okay.
Yeah,
This
sometimes
is
you
like-
need to hear that.
Yeah, like you're gonna look back on this in 10 years and be like, I'm really glad that happened.
Right.
It's like okay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I'm fucking it up.
Yeah, I'm such an idiot. I have no idea.
so,
But you shouldn't have any idea.
But Eric, thanks for coming on and
Yeah.
sharing your story. Really cool pivot. Really
you.
cool pivot. I mean, to really take a left-hand turn or a different fork in the road, let's say, after amassing a hell of a lot of credentialing and professional experience in one specific thing is a bold move. So I'm pumped for you, man.
Thanks. Appreciate you
pumped
having
to
me.
share your journey and
Yeah, awesome to be here.
yeah. See you at the gym.
Sounds good.
Take care.